Hello, hello. It is another sit down. I well-being sit down with Sheba El-Amin, Queen Shebah. Thank you so much for joining today. I have two amazing guests that are going to join us shortly, and we are going to be talking on the topic of emotional well-being and family connection. So I'm super excited for the conversation that we are getting ready to have. And yeah, get ready, y'all. Let's tap into our well being. Well, first, I want to say good afternoon and thank you so much for carving out a little bit of time for me today to have an I well being sit down with Queen Sheba. Today, I have a special guest, and her connection is really, really special to me because the first person who said you were an awesome person was my mother. And she is a great identifier of people of great character and a loving heart. And so that is how I was able to even know who you were. And so I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and let us know who you are, beautiful.
Okay. So I'm so sorry that I am in my car, first of all, but I'm glad to be here. So my name is Tanya Cowperthwaite. It's a really long last name, but I am a psychiatric rehabilitation practitioner. But most importantly, I'm a certified peer specialist in mental health and addictive disease, which means I'm a person in long-term recovery. So my life today is beautiful. I have a great husband, a great home. My children are amazing. I got two girls, they're 13 and 14. However, almost 10 years ago, I was homeless on the streets. My mental health and mental illness challenges for sure had me very, very sick and on drugs and alcohol. So God is so good. He's restored so
Yes,
much. And then the state of
yes,
Georgia paid for me to go back to college. So I have a private
yes.
practice today, and it's the Results Anger Management Program. But we do specialize with anger and domestic violence and addiction, but we do everything. So I just always want to state that, even though it's called anger management, we're a
Yes,
private practice for just all counseling services between me and my partner, Dr. Ashley Johnson of Break and
yes.
Chains Counseling Service. And I have a bachelor's in biblical theology. So we try to keep the Christian side in the forefront for sure.
Mhm. And I know that that definitely does give others like an extra blanket of comfort, those who truly believe. So that's just so amazing, Miss Tanya. Thank you so much for sharing who you are.
Yes,
So
ma'am. Thank you.
yes. So I want to say, yes, Miss Tanya is in her car right now. And this is just a example of how when you do say that you're going to show up for somebody, you may show up differently than we expect. Okay. You and I, Miss Tanya and I have had conversations where, yes, we were at home and she was more relaxed. But right now she is she's coming out of professional mode and into mother mode. So
That's
thank you
right.
so much for driving safely, driving safely.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So
Look, and
yes,
looking in the camera, I realized I never even finished my makeup today. So that just shows you what kind of day it is. But that's all right. We're getting it done.
that's right. That's right. No excuses. No excuses. And I truly feel natural beauty, honey. Natural beauty.
That's right.
So yes, ma'am, Miss Sonia. So while I have you just for a few minutes, I would love for you to speak to emotional awareness. And because you are an anger management counselor, am I saying that right, counselor?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you discuss real quick the nature of anger and the triggers and how it manifests?
Sure. So whenever it comes to anger, the biggest thing that we have to recognize is that anger is a secondary emotion. So it's an
Mhm.
iceberg effect. So we see a lot of anger from individuals. However, that's usually covering other things. And often we see, sadness. But the biggest one that we see is shame and regret. So there's a lot of shame in people that, and as a believer of Christ, it's so important to understand that, we have no reason to have shame. But that does drive a lot of anger today. So that's the biggest thing. Whenever it comes to triggers, everybody has their own triggers for sure. What makes one mad might not make another mad. However, it's
Right.
very important to know that our triggers are just that. They're our triggers, and the world's not going to tiptoe around us because of our triggers. We can't go, well, that's how I've always been. No, everybody is capable of change at any point in their life. So if that's a
Yes.
trigger that you know of, then you need to work on it. So and understand that that power is ours to own. So nobody can
Mhm.
make me mad today. Nobody can make, it's up to me if I give them that power. And it's so funny because I used to be a very angry person for many,
Right.
many years. I used to fight a lot. And I couldn't tell you the last time I got angry, but when I do, it's often at my ex-husband, who can be disrespectful, to be honest. And but I'll
Mhm.
find myself apologizing to him that I allowed him to get me out of my character today, because it's just, that's a lot of power to give somebody. So
Yes.
that makes sense. There's also a lot of contributing factors that I think needs to be addressed and discussed, that's not addressed and discussed enough. For
Okay.
instance, the ACE study is very important. ACE, it's the adverse childhood experience or adverse childhood effects. Basically, it's a study that was done in 1999 by Kaiser Permanente and Yale University, but it was like 18,000 participants, and there was 10 questions that they asked, just a simple 10-question test. And these
Uh-huh.
questions were things like, were you raised in a home with two parents? Were you raised with domestic violence? Was there addiction in your home? It's questions
Mhm.
like that. But you take your ACE score, and if it's
Uh-huh.
4 and above, then the significance of, I mean, and if you have like me, 7 and above, then you're the statistics, which I don't like statistics because we break them every day, but the statistics show that I was doomed from the get-go. So it's very important to recognize
Yes.
how trauma affects us and how that relates to our expressions of all feelings today,
Yeah.
especially anger.
Yes. Oh, that's good, Miss Tanya. Oh, thank you for that. So
Yes,
yes,
ma'am.
anybody, yes, listening, go and look at that ACE study, because I definitely am interested in, yeah, looking that up.
I
Thank you,
really
Miss.
want to do a class on it, so I will keep you posted, because
Okay.
it's, again, we can't use that excuse to justify any actions. However,
Right.
there are definitely contributing factors to a lot of the crime today and a lot of the behaviors that we see in kids, and
Mhm.
we need to know that in order to break these generational curses. So it's very helpful.
Yes, that's so good. And Miss Tanya, I just greatly appreciate you for bringing up something that many of us may not know. And that is why I have started these conversations of our well being, so that we can continue to talk about topics and studies and such that we can be aware of, and definitely, work better on ourselves and be able to definitely share those things with family or those that we love. So that is amazing. Yes, I'll be on the lookout for that. Yes, ma'am. So now that we understand that we have the power, and I like how you said that the power is ours alone, and we can't, just throw around those excuses that, oh yeah, that's just how I am. So can you share some strategies for us to cope with anger once we're in that moment? Like, what are some things that we can do to help bring ourselves back to center?
Yes, ma'am. So the biology behind anger, I think, is very important to understand. A lot of us, due to honestly childhood trauma and just how we were raised, and just for different reasons, a lot of us are in survival mode. So a lot of us are in fight or flight. And yes, I mean, I'm a business owner, and I mean, yes, I'm raising kids, I'm running, but why do we have to be in that survival mode and that fight or flight? We are perfectly safe today, even though we
Yeah.
might not have been at another point in our life. Today, we are safe. And if you're not safe, then please make it safe for sure. But it's
Right.
important because the amygdala is in the brain. It's the size of an almond in the center part of our brain, and our neocortex. That is where our fight or flight response comes from. And we're given that response for when we were created to be honest with you, I'm reading a book right now called Facing Running from Invisible Tigers. But we're given that response so that if we come around the corner and we see tigers, we get a boost of adrenaline and the cortisol, and to be able to run away. Well, today, thank goodness, we don't run away from tigers. We have this fight or flight response for other reasons. And so that's oftentimes what happens when we're getting angry. That amygdala gets inflamed. It's spitting out cortisol, which causes visceral fat, which is a carcinogenic. It's spitting out these stress hormones that's making us want to just completely catastrophize the expression of anger. There's nothing wrong with anger. It's just how we express it. So in the midst
Okay.
of that moment, make sure that you slow down. I think it's important in today's world. I'm go, go, go all the time. So I'm a fine one to be talking, but to be able to slow down, I think our brains are overstimulated. We watch our phones and the videos. And so to be able to meditate, especially on a word for sure from scripture would be great, but just to be able to quiet the brain so that in these heats of moment that, to take that awkward moment of silence, slow down, force oxygen through your nose, out your mouth through breathing to calm the amygdala, and then think of your response. Because if you respond off of that feeling, then it's going to potentially be bad. So in anger management, we definitely look at the what do you do as you're getting mad on an anger meter scale 1 to 10. As you're at a 4, before you explode, do you start shaking? Do you start sweating? A lot of times we don't even know what we start doing. We just know 1 to 10. So it's really important to identify so oh, wait a minute, I'm doing that thing again. Let me take a break. Um, but then the hard part, well, not the hard part, but the harder part, the challenging part of anger management is more of the anger prevention, which is where you change the thought patterns. So
Like
often
that.
with CBT therapy, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, that's Dr. Aaron Beck come up with that. came up with what's called the ABCD theory for anger management. And it's A stands for activating event, B stands for belief, C stands for consequences, and D stands for dispute. That belief is usually incorrect. And so when we get mad, a lot of times it's over our perception or our interpretation of the event, and that is usually wrong, to be honest. So if we're able to slow down, there's these things called cognitive distortions. Cognitive meaning our thinking, distortion meaning out of whack, if you will. But we've got things like personalization. A lot of times we tend to take things personal that has absolutely nothing to do with us.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
it's
Yes,
important to
ma'am.
recognize that. Catastrophizing, which is where we make it much bigger. So being able to recognize these, there's black or white thinking. There's several different, and you've got to. I ask people to pick out their three that they tend to do most of, and then we start working on them cognitive. So your belief behind the situations.
For you, how often would they come to see you, and what do they do in the meantime before they see you again?
So when they start services, for sure, I do an assessment, a BHA, behavioral health assessment, where I ask a lot of questions just to make sure there's no other contributing factors. Like, oftentimes with us ladies specifically, we can be low on iron, and
Mhm.
iron is what carries oxygen through your blood. So with low iron, it can cause anxiety, which is anger provoking. So,
Oh,
just making sure that there's no other contributing factors, menopause, anything like that. And
okay.
then from there, I determine how many sessions. So at minimal, it's 6 to 8. And that's just if they come to me, let's say I deal with probation and defects to complete services, I would give
Uh-huh.
them at least a minimum of 6 to 8. But I have
Okay.
clients that I've seen for years. My program
Okay.
itself that I've copyrighted is actually 8 sessions, 8 courses, if you will. But
Uh-huh.
there's 4 pieces to each course. So there's a lot from effective communication, conflict resolution, fair fighting. There's a lot that can go into it. But so anyway, if that
Wow.
answers your question.
Yes. Yes. And you taught me something new. Like again, I'm not sure, just even, speaking with my family, like a lot of times we don't even know that those kinds of services are available for us.
Mhm.
And you are located in Warner Robins, Georgia.
Yes, ma'am. I'm on Olympia
Yes.
Drive, right across from At Home on Watson Boulevard, right behind Curtis Behavioral.
Yes, ma'am. And I hear that you are taking new clients.
I
Is your
currently have
window
a few spots. Yes, ma'am.
okay? Okay. Well, that's good with a few spots. Okay. Yes, well, I just want to say congratulations to you, because I know that this has been a passion for you to definitely, dive into your own practice, and you're connected to so many nonprofits. I mean, it's hard to keep up with you, honey. Just for me,
Right.
so I imagine your family. Blessings to them. But speaking of family, tell me, can you share with me your daughter? Delani, am I saying her name right?
Delaney.
Delaney.
Uh-huh.
Okay, yes, Delaney. So she is taking a chapter from your book. So tell us about her program that she has started for teens.
Yes. So my girls are so amazing. Thank goodness, because I could have messed them up. But so yeah, Delaney's 14,
Mhm.
Atlee's 13. They're 13 months apart, and Delaney's had some struggles with her mental health recently. Just normal teenage stuff, but these are definitely trauma responses, that have come out, and we definitely got an amazing support network. But so she started what's called the Corner. So on March
Mhm.
20th of 2020, my oldest stepson committed suicide, and so that was just yesterday.
Oh,
But so we have a connection with
oh,
that. And then
blessings.
I met a really nice pastor here in town whose daughter committed suicide, and she was
Mhm.
16. So this group is a peer support group for teenage girls between the ages of 12 and say 19. We have about 20 girls that come together. They wear their PJs. We have blankets and pillows and stuffed animals on the floor. And it starts every Thursday from 6 to 7:30. We started it in October. It's doing really, really well. We do it every Thursday. And I say that because I'm tired, but it needs to happen. And it's really good because as the practitioner in the room, I do try to kind of make sure that if it gets steered in a challenging direction, that I'm there to
Right.
give some professional insight. But I try to
Mhm.
sit back and let them. Delaney always puts the lesson together. Last night it was on boundaries. They've done breaking bad habits. And they just really lean in on each other. And these girls are from all over the city. A lot of behavior challenges in the room for sure. But we open in prayer and we end in prayer. But I
Mhm.
try not to Bible them too much for sure. I try to
Yeah.
just. But it's really doing something, man. It's helped her with leadership and given her a sense of meaning and purpose, which is so
Yeah.
important.
So
Um,
important.
yeah,
Yes.
so she was having some body image things, which is very common, and she wasn't
Mhm.
eating and things like that. So, and I think that's something, with social media that these girls today face that I didn't face growing up. I couldn't
Right. Right.
imagine. And
Right.
so they've
Yeah.
been able to just, the I am thing, like what you have, we have a thing that we say I am smart, I am beautiful, I am worthy, I
Mm.
am important. It's just so
Yes.
important. So I'm so proud of her and just the girls that have made the connections. And we eat together too, so that's good. We go over
Yeah.
nutritional stuff, and so yeah, it's doing good.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I love that. So yes, I mean, you are definitely making your mark here in Warner Robins, Georgia. So tell me, do you do virtual services as well?
Yes, ma'am. So I have a
Yeah.
telehealth certification. Ashley and I both do. Dr. Johnson, my partner.
Yes.
Because I'm the only one that does certified anger management and family violence. So I get contracts from all over the state with probation and stuff. But absolutely, we do Zoom and we do in
Yeah.
person. I even do classes. So we have parenting classes through Active Parenting, which is evidence
Yes.
based. So we do that every Friday from 4:30 to 5:30. So that's really doing really really well.
That's so good. Oh, Miss Tanya, you just spreading positivity all through the age groups and all through the community. That is amazing. Honey, you inspire me. You truly
You
inspire me.
inspire me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. With you saying all the different services you have, yes, can you share like how important it is to find a support group that fits you, your needs, your beliefs, okay? Because it seems like your groups are amazing. They're hitting all the points to be so open for anybody
Right.
to come in. But yes, how important is it to have support? And how have you even seen the support groups impact the lives of those who come to you all?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we can't do this alone, right? And we're raised. I was raised by a single mom. You be independent. You do, and that's so true. Don't get me wrong. However, girl, if I did this by myself, I ended up on the streets and all kinds of stuff. So I need the women
Got you.
around me, to say,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
listen, this is what I'm wanting to do in this situation. What do you think? That
yeah.
support network is so important. One, it makes us realize that even though we might feel alone, we are definitely not alone.
No.
I love it when women come out and say things. I had a new encounter yesterday, and she was so embarrassed to say something that she was struggling with. And
Um,
and once she said it, it's so liberating. Our secrets can keep us sick. And then, of course, there's
mm,
others in the room that are like, I feel you. Me too. And that power of me
yes,
too is just that alone. We say the therapeutic value of one helping another is without parallel, meaning
yes.
just knowing that you've been there and done that and you understand, there's not even words always needed, just the
Right.
presence.
Yes. That's so good. I like that. Yeah, sometimes it is just the presence.
Just
And
the
being
presence.
yes. And being in those different groups, I feel like over time people will grow courage to definitely,
Yeah.
speak up. So yes, Miss Tanya. I mean, you have done a great coverage. Hello, girls. Thank y'all so much for
Hey,
sharing your
say
mommy.
hi,
Hey.
girls. Hey.